Welcome back to Dominant Mets Nation. And there we go. The Mets on a 2-game winning streak, beating one of the crappiest teams in baseball, the Colorado Rockies, but thus winning and looking pretty good. The bats finally waking up. Pete Alonso finally waking up. Good performance by Blackburn 2 days ago. Decent performance by Peterson yesterday. So that was good. But most importantly, you gotta beat the crappy teams. And coming out of the trade deadline, the Mets have played 8 games. They are 4-4. But just 2 days ago, the storyline was bad. The Mets couldn't even beat the bad teams. Pete Alonso, everything was being questioned about him. So just a couple days later, now we can think with a little bit more sanity. Now we can think with a little bit more rationale. We got an interesting video today. A lot of fun topics, interesting topics to get into. Before we get into it, like, subscribe, especially if you're a Mets fan. If you've never liked or subscribed, this is your chance right now. Do it. Like, subscribe. Okay, so let's get into those topics. First, let me tell you what I'm going to talk about. We're going to talk about Pete Alonso. I want to talk about what I think Pete's going to do the next couple months, what we need from Pete. And I also want to talk about some interesting dynamics around Pete that I've observed in the last couple of days. And it's pretty interesting. Next, we're going to talk about Adam Ottavino made a couple comments to the media. Obviously, we have some bullpen help, much needed bullpen help coming back. Thank God, thank goodness. But this means Adam Ottavino may get pushed out the door. So they asked his opinion, and basically Adam Ottavino said the Mets would be fools or foolish to let him go. So we'll look at that. Would the Mets be fools? Okay. And number 3, are the Mets going to basically be that stock that explodes? Are they going to carry this momentum and basically coast to a playoff position? Is it going to be a fight? How are the Mets going to do the next month and a half? Because honestly, I have a clear-cut opinion on that. Okay, so let's get into numero uno topic, Mr. Pete Alonso. Now, Pete yesterday hit 2 of the most majestic home runs that he's probably hit all year. Now, I've been clamoring for Pete to be disciplined. The guy is one of the strongest hitters in all of baseball. All he's got to do is basically have a disciplined approach and connect, swing at pitches that are strikes, and he'll do very, very well. That's what we saw yesterday. We saw 2 free and easy swings, and they went a long, long way. But Pete's got to be in the right mental space. He's got to have the right approach, be disciplined, and that's how he's going to succeed. And honestly, if you look at this, folks, we need a leader or we need a hero, however you want to look at it. 2 months ago, how did things turn around? Lindor, Nimmo, Vientos, Alvarez, those guys took charge. JD Martinez, they essentially led the team. You know, you can consider it heroic if you want, but we're going to need Pete down the stretch. That is going to be a formula for success. Now, Pete has garnered a lot of hate, and I think a lot of that was garnered, or a lot of that angriness was garnered because we love Pete. We care about Pete. We're emotional about Pete. So when somebody lets you down, it makes you feel even worse. So, you know, a lot of that so-called, you know, I don't want, you know, maybe hate wasn't the right word, but frustration was because we care so much. Down the stretch, we're going to need the polar bear in the worst way. We want to get to that World Series level. That is where we want to be, and we're going to need a guy who can mash, who can drive in runs, hit it with runners in scoring position, a guy who could be elite. We're going to need a leader on and off the field, and that's why Pete Alonso, it was extremely frustrating. I mean, I kind of contemplated, you know, putting out a video the other day, and it was really kind of documenting, you know, a lot of things that were alarming about Pete. You know, I'll just say that, you know, it kind of happens. You know, when somebody is not doing well, you look deeper into the numbers. But if a guy like Pete is successful, you kind of ignore the bad and you just observe the good. So I'm not even gonna do that right now. I'm just gonna go with what Pete is doing. I love it. The last couple games is the Pete Alonso we want to see, we need to see. Now, I'm going to tell you some interesting things, in researching about Pete and researching, what I want to do for a video. In the last couple of days, but even before yesterday, ever since Pete made those comments about 3 days ago, some people said the comments he made about him being an all-star, about him being satisfied with his season. A lot of people said that was selfish. I kind of thought it was a bit selfish as well. It wasn't classic Pete. It wasn't a guy who was team first. It wasn't a guy who, hey, you know what we should be focusing on is we are a playoff team. We're going down to the playoffs. Doesn't matter about personal achievements. It's only about team achievements. That's what I wanted to hear. Maybe he got caught up in the moment. Maybe he was really, he's focused on getting a payday. So that kind of clouded his judgment in the moment. But it doesn't really matter. We want him to succeed. So what I observed since then, and it really shows you the power of Boris. All I've seen since that comment is all these positive articles about Pete, about how Pete's going to the Cubs, about how Pete is going to be valued, I think, by Spot Track of getting 8 years, $270 million. All these positive articles about Pete. And I think that's the power of Boris, the power of his team. That he's got connections all around the league. He knows writers. He knows these people who could pump positive news about Pete. And you know what? If that gets back to Pete, if Boris and him had conversations and saying, Pete, don't worry, I'm going to get you an easy $250 million. Do your thing. That's a lot of reassurance for the polar bear. So, you see Pete on the field. Now he's a lot more relaxed. But thus, you see the power of Boris. And I think that's what really kind of stirs up the Mets fans, because the Mets fans are wise to it. They know what a guy like Boris kind of means. It means there's a good chance your guy's going to look for the sky, the pie, the moon, everything in free agency, and we could possibly lose him. That's why there's been extra angst with Pete. But at the end of the day, we love Pete Alonso. We want Pete Alonso to succeed. If you feel that way too, hit the like button. I don't think there's anybody who is mad at Pete. I don't think anybody wants Pete to fail. No, I don't think so. I don't. If there is, there's a slim majority or slim minority. Okay. All right, so let's go to our second topic, and the second topic, I want it to be fair about. So Adam Ottavino, and it's, it's sad. Sometimes guys, they come to the end of their career, and they think they're still good enough to stick around, and sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But they asked Adam Ottavino about possibly leaving, and this is Adam Ottavino's quote, his full quote, when he asked about potentially being, DFA'd. He goes, I think it would be foolish to let me go. It occurred to me that it could happen, but you can't control it. As far as I'm concerned, I'm still throwing the ball the way I want for the most part. So I just have to try to live with the results, Adam Ottavino said. He said that yesterday. Okay. He also said, I knew I would not hold this job forever. You're going to struggle at some point. It was my turn to struggle for a bit, and now I'm just looking to contribute where I can. All right, so what I did was, obviously, you look at the games. Obviously, a lot of people have seen Adam Ottavino. He's failed a bit more this year than in past. It's quite obvious. He's got a 4.25 ERA, and he just hasn't been as, you compare him to 2022, it's not even close. But I was just really comparing him to last year and the end of 2022. And I was noticing what significantly has changed with Adam Ottavino in the last year and a half. From 2024 to 2023, his advanced numbers are actually better in 2024. Right? So his advanced numbers are quite similar. But if you dive deeper into the numbers, what really changed? So one of the things that really changed is in the last 2 years, he's really dropped a couple miles per hour on his fastball. He's dropped about 2 miles per hour on his fastball. He dropped 3 miles per hour on his sweeper, that very nice sweeping pitch that goes across the zone, which that's basically what a lot of people identify with Adam Ottavino, that nasty, nasty sweeper. And he's lost 3 miles per hour since 2022. He, on average, threw that pitch 82 miles per hour in 2022 when he was dominant, lights out. And he threw that about 35 to 38% of the time. This year, he throws it 79 miles per hour. The sinker, a couple years ago, he would throw 94 miles per hour. Now he throws it 92. Now we're only talking about 2 or 3 miles per hour. But, when you're looking for that ground ball, double play, that extra velocity, that extra movement, that's all the difference. And you can see it. You can see it with his ground ball rate. I'll tell you, his ground ball rate, he was in the 63rd percentile. So he's, about 13 percentage points above league average, which is mediocre. But in 2022, he was in the 85th percentile, 85th. In 2022, hard hitters percentage, so the amount of people who hit the ball hard, he was in the 97th percentile. So that means nobody really hit the ball hard against him. This year, hard hit is down about 10 ticks. So people are barreling it up a lot more, but they're hitting it hard, at some, higher rates. His chase rate isn't nearly as high as a couple years ago. His chase rate's about the same. His whiff rate isn't as high as it was a couple years ago. But if you look at the advanced metrics, I gotta say it stands out with the velocity. The velocity is a couple ticks down, and the ground ball rate. They're elevating the ball off him, and that hurts him. So you got to look at the velocity, and you got to look at the ground ball rate. That's just me looking at it right now. Those are the two things that immensely stand out. But if you want to check out Baseball Savant, they kind of like really, magnify what the really big differences are. You got those velocity differences and the ground ball rate. And that's what's really kind of killing him. And, that's sometimes the difference between a high-level player and just a mediocre player. And now, with him being at his age, you got guys who are more productive. Sean Reed-Foley, he's coming back. We got a few guys. The Daniel Nunez, he's going to be coming back soon. So we got talented guys, Reed Garrett, and, there's going to be no room. Okay, so sad story for Adam. Let's get into the Mets right now as a whole. And the Mets got, some positivity. Like I said, Paul Blackburn, he's performing at a lot higher level than I thought he would perform at. He's performing as a solid top 3 starter, not a 4, not a 5, top 3. You can actually even say a solid 2 in the first 2 starts. I kind of rate it as a number 3 starter because he was facing 2 bottom feeders in the Angels and the Rockies. So, let's not go crazy. Let's not go nuts yet. But on the same point, we have to respect the fact that he's doing well in Colorado. He's doing well against the Angels. Those two lineups are respectable. So great job. Down the stretch, Starling Marte looks like he's going to be coming back soon. If we look at the field, we're 8 games behind the Phillies, where we just bypassed the Braves. We're a half game ahead of the Braves. We're in the 2 spot in the NL East. That's crazy. That's nuts compared to, where we were. That's insane. We're in the number 3 wild card position, so we are still in the playoffs. But we're 2.5 games behind the number 1 spot, and we are 8 games behind the Phillies. And with the way the Phillies are playing, I say, why not? We got 2 decent paths to the playoffs. Obviously, the wild card being the easiest, but why not shoot for the division? Why the heck not? Why not? Especially with the Phillies playing like crap. We're 8 games out. Let's do something special here. Let's do something magical. I said, the leadership and the explosion of Lindor, Nimmo, and Vientos, those guys, they carried the team in the back. In June, July, it's time for Pete Alonso. And what a perfect time for Pete. August into September. We said in the past you weren't clutch. Show us how clutch you are by performing down the stretch. That will be good for you. That will be good for us. Everybody will be happy. Vientos, having a great year, in my opinion. I love the way Vientos has just come onto the scene this year. Alvarez, despite kind of his hitting struggles in terms of the home run, Alvarez does so many intangibles, as mentioned by one of our good members, Pat. Pat, great stuff. Literally gave me a whole list of how many differences, how different it is to have Alvarez in the game. And you have these guys who just bring intangibles, who pitchers feel comfortable throwing. The way they hold runners on. The way they call games. Catchers are so damn important. They are. They are. So having that good catcher is extremely significant, especially who it affects. It affects every aspect of the game essentially. So that is important as well. And then you got guys like Jeff McNeil. Jeff McNeil's been coming on as late of late, and you got to respect the squirrel. You got to respect his ability, and then you got those stalwarts. Nimmo. He's been a little streaky in the last couple of weeks. Lindor's been a solid as they come, and his defense. I love the way he plays defense. It's fun to watch him and Jose at the double play. I mean, it's extremely fun to watch. So I'm extremely excited. I think it's really going to come down to. I think we're going to hit. I have confidence we're going to hit. We have Marte, Winker. We have a lot of options. And I think our guys are good enough, talented enough. Our offense is one of the top offenses in all of baseball. It's going to really come down to can the starters, make those quality starts, and the bullpen. Can the bullpen hold these leads? Is Diaz going to revert back to that 2022 form? He's had a couple, good moments, but still, you want that 2022 dominance. That dominance. That made the difference really in 2022 in a lot of games. So, and then the rest of the bullpen are the guys like Stanek, Brazabon. Brazabon had a rough outing his first time. Second time looked a lot better. And then we got a bunch of guys coming back in the relief pitchers. I like the fact that we have a lot of good depth options. I like the pieces that we have in the bullpen. Danny Young, I like him. I just like the team right now. I like the team. I'm going through everything. I like the team. It's just a matter of all these guys going to execute in the moment. That's going to be what it's about. You were nervous 2 days ago because we were playing against teams that stunk and we weren't performing. Now, let's see going forward, are the Mets going to perform? And I think we're in a perfect position to seize the moment. We're going to be playing the Mariners. Just making sure I got this. Yep, we're playing the Mariners right now. So we're going to play the Mariners. Then we got the Oakland Athletics. Then we got the Marlins. So then we're going to come back to the East Coast. So we got a couple more tough games. But, we'll see. Actually, this is the last 3 games of the West Coast trip because they're going to be coming back on Tuesday, Monday night, and then the Athletics are going to be playing at Citi Field. All right, so, let's end off strong. Let's end this road trip off strong. Let's take a couple from the Mariners and, then we go forward. But we're in a good position to do some damage. So, sorry for a long-winded video. Like, subscribe. I will talk to you very, very soon. But all in all, we are in a good position. Pete Alonso right now, our homegrown guy, our guy that we have to get behind right now if we're going to be successful. But on the same token, if he fails, it's fair to be critical. It really is. That's the market that he is in right now, and he's really garnered this extra pressure on himself. Got the guy, the mega agent Boris. So I gotta say, it's fair to criticize guys when they don't perform. It's just what it is. These guys, they go in. One of the first things their professional athletes do is take media training. So they know what to say, how to say it, what they should say, what they shouldn't say. So, that's why, a 6-year, veteran like Alonso, when he said those comments the other day, you were like, oh, wow, he shouldn't say that. He's supposed to be a team leader. It's supposed to be about team accomplishments before personal accomplishments, So, but it is what it is. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. At the end of the day, what fixes it? You go out there, you produce, you produce, you produce. Nobody gives a crap about the comments if you produce and the team wins. So, again, like, subscribe. I will talk to you very soon, and let's go Mets.